In this video, I'm going to use a drum rack and live recording different automation changes to try to come up with some happy accidents and more interesting percussion sounds, transitional elements, etc. So right here, I have a drum rack loaded up with a couple sounds. And you can see that I already have some delay on here, some grain delay, some echo, some reverb. It really doesn't matter what you have here. The whole point of this exercise is just to experiment, put some different things on there, and try to get, some interesting sounds. So maybe I'll take that grain delay off and do the guitar pedal instead. I'm going to be tapping these notes out on my keyboard, so you won't be able to see that, but that's just for ease of use. Okay, some key things here. I have the repitch mode selected in echo so that I get these pitch effects. I have the times syncs selected at different percentages so that there's some width to it using essentially the Haas effect. And then I have, just reverb, whatever it is, doesn't really matter. I might even take the reverb off and do that later on so that's not glued to it. The key is here, though, is we're going to be recording this and bouncing it to audio. So if we create a new audio track and route our drum rack to this audio channel, we just say live takes. Then we change this to in, and we select both the arm for the MIDI track and the record for the live track to be armed. So now when I hit it, it comes out of this channel into this channel and then gets recorded. So the reason we're doing it this way is because there's a lot of, you could record the automation changes with your MIDI channel, but you won't be able to manipulate the result after that. So for example, you won't be able to reverse the sound unless it's bounced to audio. This is also just getting into the mentality of, jamming and recording multiple live takes, cutting it up, and, having it be a little bit more intuitive where you place things and what they look like and just getting creative with how you process it. So I'm going to record myself playing those 4 notes on the keyboard, turning the knobs, and just generally jamming out as it all gets processed into audio. If you have like a drum pad, that's even better. So you can just do Apple or Command M and then map these to those pads just by tapping it and then hitting the note or hitting the pad. You can see also I've already programmed, and I'll just undo this. But if I select this delay time and then turn a knob on my keyboard, and I'll actually unselect this link, and now I can do the other side and turn a different knob, and now those MIDI knobs, or those keyboard knobs, are getting mapped to these MIDI messages. And maybe I'll even do reverb to a 3rd knob and the gain on the pedal to a 4th knob. So you're just trying to give yourself a lot of automation and modulation options that you can mess around with live to get weird sounds, because there's a sound that can come from, the delay at this point, and another sound that can come at the delay if the delay's at that point. But it's the actual movement between those 2 points that gives you interesting sounds. So for example, so just stuff like that. So I'm going to record stuff, and then I'll show you how I chop it up later and come up with new ideas. that's enough for now. So I really love playing with the echo timing with those cool pitch effects. You don't have to do that. Obviously, when you're experimenting, there's so many effects you can mess around with, and it's really just, you have to get into the mindset of just experimenting, not always even knowing what you're doing, but just seeing, what combinations in a signal chain can you make that, make interesting sounds, and just how can you make something new from the sources you already have. So if we just listen to some of these things. So sometimes stuff might be focused one side more than the other, and you can always balance that out using a utility. If you wanted to, either just make it more mono or change the balance, or even just take, the right side of it. You're going to lose the stereo image at that point, but maybe if you, put it into reverb later, it doesn't matter. Or you can just keep it stereo and have it be a little unbalanced because, it's in the context of a full song. But say we take this, we could reverse it. We could go to this beats warp mode, change it to forward only, 16th note preservation, bring this down. So now we have something cool right there. I'm actually going to make a new audio channel for the things that I'm selecting. And then maybe we do a delay on this. And then we fade it out also. So now we could have like a cool little downlifting sound. But it's still a little unbalanced. Yeah, so I'm going to actually bring it forward a bit. And we can just throw some reverb on it. So just, a cool sound that no one else is going to have that you made to go into your song. Maybe something else. Another cool thing you can do if you're trying to select through your jam and see like what you might want to use is if you create a loop that's, as big as your entire take. So you can just crank this up really, whatever. And then take your little selection where you might want that sound and then just scroll the start point. And you can just get ideas, cutting halfway into sounds and stuff like that. So I like that. It's just a perk sound that we can use, maybe we loop it or something. Oops. And then if we wanted to, you could consolidate this, loop it, have it go every bar. Yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm just trying to, make examples. But it's just a good way to not always rely on samples and loops, especially in the more, with the more techno sounds where you're trying to go for something a little bit electronic and not super organic. This is a great way to do that. You could also, do this exact same technique with bongos and stuff, and then just get a lot of takes and pick the ones you like best. And because you're not working in MIDI, you just, I don't know, there's just a mindset that comes with working with audio where you commit more, you're less likely to change stuff, and it just helps you like move forward in the songwriting process. Maybe we'll just do another one where you can, you know, time correct it so that it creates a groove. I'll just mark this as one. Maybe that's all we have, actually. So even like something like that, it's a little bit of a weird rhythm, but kind of like a triplet thing, but or a syncopated thing, but you know, kind of sounds like bongos, but you know it's not. It has much more stereo interest because of these like one-off hits that are only on one side. And now you have, you know, this cool like back loop pattern that adds a lot of rhythmic interest to the track, and it has, you know, an interesting sound design component behind it too. So if I just loop that. Yeah, so just things like that. Really, the goal of this whole technique is just to set yourself up to be able to make happy accidents that then could spawn the idea for, you know, the main percussive element or even a main melodic element. You know, you don't have to start with the drum mark. You can just start with synths or a VST, you know, and mess around with all these knobs and settings while you're playing and just jamming out. But because you're recording to audio, if anything weird or interesting or unique happens, you have it captured as audio, and you know, you can manipulate it as such. So hopefully this just inspires you to work more in audio and just work in, you know, a traditional fashion where you're recording elements, you're doing multiple takes, you're jamming, and then later on you gather all those takes, pick the best parts, manipulate them how you wish, and come up with a song with elements that are a lot more interesting than if you were to just stick in MIDI without, you know, automating or modulating much. One other thing I'll say is, you know, if you don't have the knobs, or if you want to just leave some things up to chance, you can always use the Max for Live LFO, where you can map an LFO to some of these settings and just have it move automatically. And then, you know, change the depth, the rate, etc. And this also gets you to even more creative possibilities because it goes faster, you know, than a human hand. Yeah, so cool stuff like that. So yeah, just don't be afraid to experiment. It's really how so many amazing sounds and ideas are made, is that, you know, it starts off as a happy accident.
Thanks everybody for watching, commenting, and indeed liking. We really do appreciate all the support we get here on our Sonic Academy YouTube channel. So if you found this video super useful, please, we'd love you to hit the subscribe button. We update the YouTube channel every week with new content. And if you want to watch some more relevant content, just click on the videos beside me.